Hi everyone, it's Kathy Thur here. I'm welcoming you to my brand new series called Kathy's Chats. It's been a long time in the making, and so I'm excited to get started. I posted a previous video detailing a little bit about my intention behind these chats, and so I am just going to get started with episode 1. And episode 1 is called What's in Your Name? So I'm going to explain how this chat came about, and I'm going to give a couple of my life examples so that you can start looking at your own experiences and your own examples relative to the topic. And as we continue chatting, I'll be asking you throughout the video, what's in your name? So let's just get started. All right, so what brought this chat to life is this. I was being led through an exercise whereby we would pull our first name into different parts of our body. So for example, we would quietly, with our eyes closed, pull my name, Kathy, into the head area and let it get absorbed. And then into the heart area, into the chest, that's where your love is, into the heart area, and let it get absorbed. And so we're going through this exercise, and when I brought my name to my spirit area, you know, that area right above your stomach, right below your ribs, that gut instinct that you get, that's where our spirit resides, the truth of us. That's where it's hanging out. So when I brought my name close to that area to absorb it, suddenly I had an actual physical reaction whereby I withdrew from the name, and I thought, what is this all about? This is strange, this is interesting. So I tried again, went in all the different areas, got to that spot where my truth lies, would not get accepted. So I thought, what is this? So I told the instructor after the exercise what happened, and she said, try using your full name. So I said, okay. So I went through it again, and I used my full name. Instead of Kathy, I used Catherine. No problem. It was absorbed immediately into that spirit area. So I thought, well, now I'm very curious because I have a very curious mind. And so I asked, what do you think that's all about? And the instructor said, you don't like yourself. That's what it's all about. And I thought, oh, okay. This is interesting. And so I'm the type of person that I will always go inside of myself and ask questions until I get answers that pertain to my journey. So the next day, I got quiet and I started asking questions because now I'm very curious. What is this all about? That whole exercise. And so one of the questions, the first question I asked was, why was the name, my full name, Catherine, accepted with no questions asked into that spirit area? I didn't feel anything. I didn't hear anything. So I said, okay, just continue with questions. Then I asked, why was my name, Kathy, not accepted into that area? As soon as I asked the question, all I could hear ringing out in my ears was my father's voice saying my name, Kathy, was my mother's voice saying the name Kathy, my siblings. And when I heard their voices ringing out, I had complete, full understanding and awareness of what was happening, what happened through that exercise. And what had happened is this. It wasn't about not liking myself. It was about the fact that all of these other voices and people had put so much meaning into my name, Kathy. And when I brought it close to the truth of who I am, of who you are, it resides in the same area, your spirit. When I brought it close to that area and my spirit reacted, it wasn't saying, we don't like you. It was saying the information and meaning in your name put there by others is false. It doesn't match the truth of who you are. So it wasn't reaction of withdrawing from myself. It was my innate wisdom of my spirit letting me know this is what's happening. There's a disconnect between what others put in your name and the truth of who you are. And I'll explain what I'm talking about. And so that was one of those very rare enlightening moments. Usually it's like pulling teeth trying to get answers. And so now, because of my curious mind, I sat and I investigated and I thought about it further. And what it was telling me is that it was started showing me examples of people putting meaning into my own name. And so I'm going to give you two of my own personal life examples. And as I am, then maybe start thinking about your own examples. So the first one I want to share is that when I was 4 years old, I was just getting ready to walk out the door for Halloween. My father was going to take me out. And now I'm 4 years old, I'm small, obviously, and he's 6 foot tall. And right before we walked out, I said, I don't want to go out without my sister. So now my sister's in bed sick, she can't go out. You know, simple little statement from a kid. And so he bent down, so I'm looking up, and he bent down and he got his face close to mine, and he said, "What did you say?" So now I'm feeling a little bit of fear because I'm an energy person, so I can feel something. And so I said it again, but much more hesitantly. I said, I don't want to go out without my sister. And so my bedroom from where we were standing was 25, 30 feet at the most. I don't remember those few feet from where we were to getting to my bedroom. But the next moment was, we were in my bedroom, my father and I was being flung around the room, like a rag doll, just swung around. And now we're not playing. This is not playtime, playing around. He was enraged. And so he was just throwing me left, right, center, wall to wall, and to the point where he pushed me up against the ceiling, and my face was pushed up against the ceiling. And so now I'm trying to breathe. Okay. In those moments, what kind of meaning do you think was uploaded into my name, Kathy, by somebody else? It's their meaning. I'll tell you what it was. The meaning in Kathy's name now equates to voiceless, because I'm being physically forced to be voiceless and shown that if I'm not voiceless, my life is literally on the line. And my childhood psyche, which we all have, our childhood psyche adapts certain behaviors to keep you alive, because we have an innate need and desire and drive to stay alive. And so my psyche also said, not only was I shown this physically to be voiceless, but my psyche said, we need you to be voiceless to survive. And so that's an example of one way. I mean, there's many ways, but I'm going to share different ones, not only mine, but other people's, so you can see the difference. So that, when I say what's in your name and meaning being assigned to your name, that's how it was, in my experience, a powerful meaning being put into my name with thick roots. Okay, so now it doesn't always have to be so severe and violent and physical. My second example of my life experience is to show that it doesn't have to be violent. And what it was a few weeks later, 4 years old was quite the year for me. I was at the Santa Claus parade, neighborhood Santa Claus parade with my mother. And so now here comes Santa on his float, and he's waving to everybody. And I'm like, no way. My mother's like, wave to Santa. And I'm like, no way, because now when you experience trauma, some people will start to withdraw even further and some people will become rebellious. Well, at that point right then, I was like, nope, I'm looking for a hole to hide in. I'm not waving to Santa. So, okay, parade's over, and we come across a vendor on the street, and they're selling these little blow-up Santas on a stick. And so I asked my mother, like children do, can I have one of these? And she said no, which is fine. We all hear no when we're kids, and that's no problem. It's the next statement that uprooted into my name thick roots of meaning, and it was this: no, you don't deserve one. Ah, don't deserve now, Kathy, meaning undeserving. Okay, and then she reinforced it by repeating, you don't deserve anything. You didn't wave to Santa. Got it. So now, in the meaning of my name is the falseness, I don't deserve anything. So now we have Kathy, meaning equals voiceless. Meaning equals undeserving of anything. And so those are two examples of how meaning is added to a person's name. A very physical way and non-physical way. It was still not a kind way, for sure. But it doesn't always have to be cruel either. Now, I had a client who, her mother was very well-meaning by trying to teach her good eating habits. And what happened was this. So I'm not using real names today, obviously, but Susie, so she's a kid, she's like 7, 8 years old, she has baby fat. And so her mother wants to make sure that she doesn't have a weight problem or eating issue by way of overeating. And so she starts saying to Susie, every time Susie's reaching for a second helping, do you really need that helping? Do you really need more? And so the mother's intention was good to help teach her, but the effect was, again, uploading meaning into Susie's name that Susie means sizability. And when I say that, it means Susie looks at her name and says, lovability comes from my size. It comes from a number on my scale. Susie, meaning worthiness, comes from size. The number on a tag inside her jeans. And so inadvertently, we could have people who are well-meaning upload false meaning into our name. So the other thing is, it doesn't always have to be in your childhood. It usually is. For most people it is. Most of it, 90% of meaning is uploaded in a kid's name when they're young, but not everybody. I've talked to people who they said they had wonderful childhoods, like bubble of safety and encouragement and understanding and all of it. It was just the safe place to be. So when they became adults, I mean, they hit the ground running. The world was their playground because all they knew was security and safety. So they hit the ground running, and then they meet that one partner. And then the name tainting begins. Or they get that one manager or that one coworker. And tarnishing of the meaning of their name begins. And so it doesn't necessarily have to happen when you're a kid. It could happen when you're an adult. You could have had a great childhood. But then tainting of your name can begin other ways, other times. Are you perhaps tarnishing your own name? One way that we humans love to tarnish our own names occasionally is playing this losing game. The losing game of comparison game. And so a great example of that I've seen is Jennifer. Jennifer looks at Janet's thighs. Janet's thighs are slightly smaller. Now Jennifer herself starts to tarnish her name, the meaning of her name, to equate to lesser than because her thighs are bigger. I was talking to a man, Bob, who he was one of these family men who created one of those beautiful, safe bubbles for his family, for his children. It was a safe place. His wife, he worked hard. He was a great provider. One day he came home and saw in his neighbor's driveway a beautiful new shiny boat. And now Bob starts to taint his own name by saying Bob equals lesser than of a provider. And so, are you tainting your own name? It happens so easily. Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. And so it happens in childhood. It can happen when you're an adult. It could happen from other people, yourself. It could be done cruelly. It could be done with well-meaning intentions. And so what do you do then? What do you do then when you look at your name and you look in the meaning and you see, oh no, it's false. It's not correct information in there. Well, there's different options. Some people will just stop using the name they've been using. So for example, if I were to choose that option, I could have easily just pushed the name Kathy aside and used my full name, Catherine. So I would have just put Kathy aside in all of its false meaning and just started fresh. And that's what some people do. Some people will have legal name changes and just release everything and start fresh. And that's great. That's for you to decide if that's for you and your journey. Another option is looking inside of your name and at the different meaning that's there, how it got there, why was it put there, and then challenging what you find and changing it. So how would you challenge it? Well, a great example is this. If you too were forced to be voiceless or insinuated, because there's a lot of insinuating, especially with women, with girls, not so much today, the younger generations, but we women have a history of where it's insinuated that, shh, not so loud, not so confidently, not so powerfully, just, only so much. There's always that insinuation that it's not okay for women to use their voice. And so if that was your journey as well, one way to challenge it is this. Go to your bathroom mirror, look at yourself in the mirror, look at yourself in the eye, open your mouth and say, hello. Okay, that's it. You just used your voice. You heard the words. You said the words. You were witness to yourself using your voice. So the fact that you heard your voice and you spoke words now removes that false meaning that you are voiceless. So look at the meaning in your name and find ways to challenge it safely and what's comfortable with you. And it's going to be different for everybody. And so the reason I chose that path for myself, that option, is because for me to push aside my name Kathy, it felt like taking a bag of garbage and putting it in my closet. Okay, so now I have a bag of garbage in my home, rotting and smelling, attracting bugs and disease, and eventually it's just going to permeate in my home, in the paint, in my walls, in my clothes, in my senses. So for me to go in and challenge what's there and prove it wrong and replace it with the truth of who I really am, for me, that's like taking that bag of garbage to the curb. That's it. It's taken away, it's recycled, it's reused, but it's gone. But again, it's what feels right for you. And you could always do something different later. For example, if you do choose to use a different name, like push your current name aside and everything it contains and use a different name, if you find that over time, the meaning in the original name starts to seep in to the new name, then maybe at that time, sit and try the second method of looking at what's in it and challenging it and changing it. So there's no one set rule for anyone. Just always go inside and find what's right for you. Okay, so we've talked about how meaning gets put into name, different ways, different ages, by different people, by ourselves, and what options we have when we look at what's in our name, set it aside, adopt something new, change what's there. So the next point I really want to stress in this chat is, which I will stress in every chat I give, most likely, is always think for yourself. Always. Because in this example that I shared today, if I wasn't the type of person to go in and ask the questions and get to my own truth, I may have very easily have accepted and adopted somebody else's statement that I don't like myself. Now, it was said there was nothing but well-meaning behind the statement because that's what the person thought. But it was 100% false because by asking the questions, which is what I do, what resulted was a truth that contained nothing but powerfulness, in complete contradiction to a statement you don't like yourself, which is a statement of powerlessness. So as well-meaning as it was, that's what she believed, it was 100% false. Had I not questioned for myself, I would have grabbed that statement and worn it, like put it over my shoulders like a cloak. So imagine the energy, the heaviness, the powerlessness in that statement. My shoulders would have been pulled down and just the heaviness of that statement. And so always think for yourself. Listen to what people have to say, but don't automatically adopt their words as your truth because it may not be applicable to you. So always just get inside and question until you get your own answers because they're there. And so now, talking about questions, when you do go inside and start asking yourself these questions, first of all, this experience that I shared today, rarely do I get these enlightening moments of hearing voices ring out and knowing the truth of everything. Like it just came like that. Rarely do I get those answers. Most people don't. It's like pulling your hair. Come on. But stick with it. Keep asking the questions. They will come. And so when you don't get immediate answers, what kind of questions should you ask? What I find the best is to ask logic questions, to look at the situation with logic and start using logic questions. So regarding this situation about going through that exercise, using logic alone shows that the fact that my name, Kathy, went in easily, without hesitation, into my heart area, which is the love area, that logic right there completely discounts the statement that I don't like myself. That's it. So that's logic. Another way that I knew logically after I got in and started looking at it is not only that, which is logical, went in my heart area, is that when I did think about putting the name Kathy aside, I felt sadness, which right there shows that I do love myself. And the whole exercise was shown that the meaning in the name was false, but it wasn't about not liking myself. And so to get to your answers, very rarely do we have these enlightening moments, but start to break things down using logical questions because the answers are there. Just keep digging for them. And you will find your truth. Okay, so let's just quickly recap. We went through the experience that resulted with this chat. I gave a couple of my life examples so you can start looking in your own life experiences, what might come forward for you that created a lot of deeply rooted, thick-rooted meaning, false meaning into your name. Who put it there? Was it put, in my case, for example, I had very, very damaged caregivers, I say it very loosely. And very, very damaged people are very insecure. Like, we're all insecure. That's part of the human experience. We all get insecure at varying times, at varying levels. That's normal. But very damaged people, their sense of insecurity is so deep that even a childhood statement feels like a threat and attack and has to be shut down. So who put it there and why? Again, when? Was it you? And then look at different ways of working with it. Like we talked about already, release that name for something new, or go inside of it, see what's there, challenge it, and change it to the truth of who you are. We talked about critically important, always thinking for yourself, always, because the answers you need are inside of you. Just ask, get down to logic. Logic will never lie. You'll see the truth in logic. And just take it from there. So yes, it's great to listen to what other people have to say. There's a lot of wisdom out there, but ultimately you have your own spirit that has the truth for you inside of yourself. And you're given the ability to connect with the truth that you need. And so don't forget about that, because it's always there at your disposal, even though it's not easy getting in there and getting the answers, but it's there. All right, now I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this chat. And I really hope today's chat gives somebody some food for thought and maybe gives you a different perception of looking at things, and in some way will open just that little space for awareness to come through. Because in awareness, oftentimes is where healing will start to happen. And so I really hope this is really helpful for somebody. And if you know of somebody, if you have a family member or a friend or a coworker who you suspect might benefit from looking at the meaning within their own name, then feel free to point them towards this video, because you just never know the catalyst, where the catalyst for somebody's healing might be. And so I want to say thank you for listening. It was a pleasure chatting. I'm so glad to have finally gotten my new series started. And if you want to chat, continue this chat privately, feel free to Facebook me or email me. My email address is on my Facebook page, on the About page. And we will continue this privately if that's what you need or feel drawn to do. And other than that, everybody, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. I have some more chats already in the works, and so we will be chatting again very soon. But until then, everybody, stay safe, and thanks for joining, and I look forward to our next chat. All right, take care, everybody. See you later.